Ready. Check Monday, Wednesday, Friday, yeah, you know it's a go. Okay, I see they going off, but we gon' rewrite it though. That's right, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, yeah, you know it's a go. Okay, I see they going off, but we gon' rewrite it though. That's right, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, yeah, you know it's a go. Okay, I see they going off, but we gon' rewrite it though. I said Monday, Wednesday, Friday, yeah, you know it's a go. Okay, I see they going off, but we gon' rewrite it though.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to season 3 of the Rewriters Room. We are the men with the pen. We are back. Took a nice little break. Had to get back in our bags, strategize. But we're here and we're looking forward to a very fun season. It's the boy Armand. What hive am I this season? Things have changed so much in the WWE. Otis cut off all his facial hair, so I don't really know if I'm jacking it right now. I don't have a hive. I think I'm just gonna be a general fan of everything wrestling. So fellas, how y'all doing?
What's good? It's your boy CC, best rapper and producer in the whole wide world. Got body because I consume healthy products and do towel curls. Benevolent earth, servant to the earth, and philanthropist at every phrase that I say is a gem. Like amethyst, even the fuck ups. You could put any nigga next to me. Dope ass women right over there. Like, you know, the guy that's like by the bar, but like behind him. I know he tall, but if you look like behind you, yeah, that group over there, they're gonna look at him like, whose man's is this? I may talk a lot, but only got one thing to say. Love yourself and keep going. You are the world, so give all you can. Take care of your body, your people, and your land. Where the fuck my nigga Chan?
I'm in mine forever, man. I'm in mine forever, dog.
You kind of look like Malcolm Bivens now. That's
probably why I like him so much. I feel like we really we understand. Like when you see a genius at work,
mm-hmm.
It's like, you know how LeBron James be tweeting about basketball. It's like, yeah, that's how I feel like Malcolm Bivens when he's on Twitter, when he's doing his promos. Like you just see it. You just see the artistry. So first and foremost, die mine forever. Secondly, shout out to Trick Williams, man. Shout out to Jive. Shout out to Roll Bounce. Shout out to Suckers, Bad Man Pajamas, Shut Your Mouth. Just shout out to Trick Williams. Just bringing back, they cut off the Get Down, but we got Trick Williams in return. So, I mean, I think it all came out positive.
You got to lose something to gain something. Absolutely correct. To kick off the season, we're not alone. We have one of the most notorious critics of professional wrestling. I probably missed him on Twitter for a little bit, but he is back. He doesn't want to discuss demos or ratings, though, so do not bring any demo or ratings talk this man's way. This is Mr. Visibility, a.k.a. graphic designer extraordinaire, a.k.a. critically acclaimed AEW analyst, a.k.a. the funniest IG stories on the Instagram app. He is a co-host of The War Report, co-host of Spot Callers, co-host of The G Show, resident RNC member, and overall dope dude. We got Cyrus here. Cyrus, how you feeling, man?
I love that. I love that entrance, especially the Instagram story part, because I was just like, oh, that's hard. Because all the memes I post are very like precise situations that's just going on in my day-to-day. Like, it's nothing that's very general for the people. But if you relate, that's weird. But sorry to happen to you. Don't talk to me about ratings or demos because I don't have cable. So therefore, I do not contribute to them. But I watch everything anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm happy to be here. I am so mad that I overslept the last time I was supposed to be here.
I needed you that episode. I needed you, man.
Just work was just kicking my ass, and I got home. I said, I'll take a little nap. I'll be here when I'm ready.
Ain't no little nap, man.
I woke up and it was 9 o'clock.
5 hours later.
Yeah. I woke up and it was 9 o'clock, and I said, "Oh fuck!" But I'm happy to be here, and especially for Survivor Series. Survivor Series is literally one of my favorite. It is my favorite pay-per-view because it's just a pickup basketball game.
Yeah,
like that's all it is. And then you can rep your brand if you want to, but I think everybody's just really repping themselves, proving that they're the best in the
Literally. Yeah. It's my favorite pay-per-view as well. And we are going to get into a bunch of Survivor Series talk later on in the show. But as we ask every RNC guy who comes through on the show, I'm always so curious about how we all found one another. So I wanted to ask you, like, how did you get connected with all the RNC guys and go from, just a Twitter follower to a friend to a contributor and doing our graphics?
So this is a funny story, and I don't even think I told Justin about this one. So I got into wrestling like a couple years ago, 2015. I followed Justin on Twitter. Didn't know who he was yet. I said, this nigga's tweets are annoying, and I unfollowed him. And then around 2 years later, Destiny 2 came out, and then I was playing with a mutual friend. And then Justin was just like, oh, he cool. And then he just followed me on Twitter. And I said, all right, I'll follow him back. And then that was it. And then, we both like wrestling and stuff like that. And then he was just like, I want you to be on the A show so we could talk about Glow season 2. Mm-hmm. And then I was just like, oh, okay, whatever. That was just about it. And then when I came up with the concept for Spot Callers, which was just like, I just like watching new things in the wrestling bubble, since like I'm fairly new to it and there's like so much to explore. And I brought that to him and he was just like, that's cool. What's the first episode? And I said, I want to watch this Japanese deathmatch stuff. And he said, okay, I don't know. And now we're here.
It's crazy to me you started watching so recently, because you're very aware of like historical shit, like shit that like I don't even know, like stuff in the 90s. I feel like you're pretty hip to, like, so it must have been a pretty intense binge watching phase you had coming to wrestling late.
So I came back, like, I'm always familiar with like The Rock, Stone Cold, and all the icons in the industry. And then I just fell off. Video games and cartoons was really my shit. Mm-hmm. And then 2015, I was just bored and I saw everybody on the TL talking about WrestleMania. I said, where can I watch? I turn it on, and the first face that I see is a familiar face. It was The Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt. Not the full match, because I feel like that probably would have turned me off. But the zombies was coming out. I thought that was really cool. And then I caught like the tail end of it, like that last part of the match. And then Rusev came out in that tank versus John Cena, another familiar face. And I was like, that's crazy. This entrance hard as fuck. Mm-hmm. And then John Cena came out with the wild patriotic joint, and I was just like, I don't know about this one. But I think what like kind of cemented me in the whole thing was the main event, where Seth Rollins kind of came in, stole the show. And then when he started like swinging the belt with the fireworks going off, I was like, oh, this hard. That, I love that image a lot, because that was like what sunk me in. And then my friend who gave me his WWE Network password, rest in peace to the website, he was just like, oh, you could just watch it, just use it whenever. And I was just like, well, shit, I'm not really watching anything else, because, I like fell off anime and all the other stuff I was watching. I was just like playing video games most of my time. Mm-hmm. And I found a Reddit page. It's called Square Circle 366. And it just had a list of matches every day of just classics. Every day I was watching a classic. And like, I wouldn't say I watched all, 366 of those, but I would watch like, let's say it had like Edge Undertaker at the WrestleMania. I'd watch the full show.
I love that show.
So instead of like really watching the individual matches, I would see names that I was like familiar with, and then I would watch the full show. And that's how I just got familiar with everything.
Right. Love that. Love that. Okay, awesome. Well, we definitely want to plug our Patreon, where you can hear Cyrus and Quan on the World Report. You can hear bonus A-show content. You can hear Spot Callers. Legendary Run will be coming soon with Batista. It's a Batista season, and plenty other content from the A-show RNC, so make sure you tap into that. But as you know, our first segment for Rewriters Room is the pre-write. So we've taken some time off. A lot has happened. We missed a draft. We missed Crown Jewel. We were not recording during Extreme Rules, so there's definitely a lot to catch up on. So I want to ask, and we can start with our guest, and he's the big NXT AEW correspondent, so would love his perspective on those. So what have you liked or disliked about the WWE or AEW within the last 2 months?
So for WWE stuff that I've liked is NXT 2.0, obviously. I love the sort of mentor system that it's falling under. Like, everybody like gets like a mentee, like every veteran that was part of it, that was there for like two years and some change. You see them really work with like, a lot of these younger talents and stuff like that, or like fairly new talents, people who are like extremely athletic, like they're athletic already, they just need to get comfortable in the ring. That's it. And I love that. It really just reminds me of like high school where you would get after school program. So I thought that was really cool stuff. And Toxic Attraction, I didn't think that this pairing would be at the top. Like I think that I didn't think they'd get to the top so fast, but they're here. And Diamond Mine as well. Love Diamond Mine. Just some of the most talented people, and they have like some of the greatest mentees, the Creed brothers, Ivy Niles, who I think should get a lot more, but we'll see what happens with her. I have faith. I definitely see the potential, but her being a woman with a stable full of men might not be the best for her. And obviously, Carmelo Hayes, man, love it. I love NXT 2.0. Raw or SmackDown, I really couldn't tell you. I haven't. If I don't have to watch it, then I don't. Like I'm a wrestling fan, but I'm a video game player first. On the AEW front, I know this might seem like the list is going to be short, but I do like that Hangman Page finally won the title. I think that's fantastic. Shit! He finally did it.
Oh, nice. Thank you. That happened. I'm glad that happened.
I went to an AEW show in Miami not too long ago. I thought that was very fun. It was, I think, about 3 weeks ago now.
Okay. All right.
It's the show where Hangman Page cut that amazing cowboy shit promo. And I was there for it live, and I was just like, the crowd was like in silence. Like they like he really had him in the palm of his hands. That was really cool to see. Brian Danielson, mixed bag, but I'm liking it for the most part. I really like what he's doing out there. Jamie Hayter, on the women's division. I wish they could I wish her everything the best and more in that division. I know it might be hard and tough, but I think she could make it out. And that's it for the AEW front. What I don't like about AEW is literally everything else. NXT, I think it's not that I hate it, but it's something that we have to get used to. It's just like, when are takeovers? When are there big shows? When are we getting our big pay-per-views? Like, I know we don't want to. Yeah, they have to earn it, but still, it's so weird for NXT to not have a big show during these big, seasons.
Yeah,
like I'm surprised that we're getting a War Games, although it doesn't have the NXT. The Takeover name on it. So I'm just like, what are we doing here? I'm very worried about that. The big shows, the tag team division on NXT is really odd as well. Not a big fan of that. We just have some of the weirdest dudes, like I just call them country. I just call them country niggas because that's really all they are.
The two whites.
Yeah, that's literally
two big white
Brock
niggas
or something. Like, I don't even know their names. Just white and white. Yeah. Josh and John, whatever the fuck their names are.
Yeah, Josh Briggs, and I forget the other dude's name, who I guess is like his mentee or whatever. And I'm just like, you have to do more than I'm tough and I could beat people up. Dog, you're in the wrestling business.
And you're also not that big. Like, there are big.
I'm saying,
like, there are some big. I mean, one thing if y'all was all both like Omasi size, okay, like, you are tough, but it's like y'all are just kind of like Trick Williams is towering over both of you. Like, you're not that tough.
What is it? The Creed brothers, like, literally tower over them.
And they can really wrestle.
If there were like two Samoans, like, then I'd be like, okay, you guys are big dudes, but it kind of is what it is with them. I don't think there's many legs to their gimmick or whatever they do. And then some of the stuff involving the women on NXT, like it is a really good women's division, but I think that there aren't a lot of possible challengers that actually makes me believe that they want or that they can beat Mandy Rose in them. Because yes, everybody's a great wrestler, but not everybody's a great character. And that's what NXT 2.0 is really focusing on.
Yeah.
So Godspeed to Kaylee Ray. I think the writing's on the wall.
Yeah. It's just a waiting game.
That's all. Yeah. That's all for me.
Word. Chan, how about you, bro?
So I'll start with what you already mentioned, cowboy shit. I think like I'm a simple guy, as you know, as a leader of the mid-card mafia. There's a few things I really hold near and dear to my heart. First and foremost, I love a gimmick. I love a guy in an outfit that kind of doesn't really go with anything. So first off, I was like, Hangman, don't know if I like that name. Felt racist. Then I did some research. I'm like, okay, this is more of a not like I'm lynching people. It's like a cowboy thing, whatever the fuck. Okay, here for a gimmick. Pop on AEW last weekend. I see a guy riding a horse through a city. Second thing I love is an entrance. I love a spectacle. Even I will admit, I really do not like Raquel Gonzalez when she came in on that motorcycle. It did something for me. I was like, man.
I wish it was a cooler motorcycle. It's quite big. It seems like it's the old man motorcycle.
Yeah. It's like a big ass chopper. But yeah, so I love an entrance. I love a chant. So like you said, during the promo when he comes back and that's cowboy shit. I'm like, I don't really know what that means, but that's kind of fucking cool because everyone's yelling it. I'm into it. We're all into it, having fun. And I love a ladder match. He won a ladder match. I was sold. I was into it. Finally got to watch it because you watch a lot of AEW. And the one thing I say about AEW, a lot of it's inside jokes. So you hear a lot about like how great Adam Page is, but I hadn't really watched a lot. I don't watch like indie wrestling. So I haven't really seen him actually wrestle outside of like going out and finding something on YouTube that was obviously a great match. But that's like I'm Googling his great matches. So obviously it's gonna be good. So I was like, okay, he's cool, but like I'm not gonna lie, I was sold a bill of goods on Kenny Omega. I was like, y'all told me this guy was the next greatest thing, and like, what is Matt Riddle not doing that Kenny Omega doing? Like, what are we talking about? And so Hangman Page, I was glad to see him kind of hit, him kind of do some cool stuff. I'm hoping that like AEW with a champion that I kind of get behind because Jericho has his whole thing. I just can't really. He's moved so far away from the character I knew growing up as an actual person that I really can't like root for Jericho that way. Like obviously, like I have like nostalgia for him, but I never really could. Moxley was always just like, okay, like he kind of get on my nerves. And then, like I said, Kenny Omega really hit. So hopefully this will be the AEW champion that we can actually push forward, do some cool new stuff with that's not just like rerunning back being the elite for the 1,000th time. So really looking forward to that. Not to double try on other things you said. Last thing I'll say about WWE, besides, my favorite son, Trick Williams and the Creed Brothers, is I don't know if happy is the right word, but I was glad to watch Crown Jewel and not feel like so disgusted by it. Like it was nice. Like they showed the shots of the kids and the women, and it's like, oh, okay, like there maybe are some redeeming qualities to this event. Because for a while, the first ones you're watching, I'm like, these matches aren't good. You almost killed Shawn Michaels. This feels kind of gross. Feels like a money grab. And then now you're like, okay, at least you guys are putting effort into it now. It's like looking presentable. There's more to it than just like, Titus O'Neil falling under shit. Like it just seemed like they're putting more effort into these shows. So just being like, literally, we're going to send 6 of y'all over to Saudi Arabia, make some money and come home. It seems like they're really trying to make it a pay-per-view. So I did enjoy that. A nice, Thursday afternoon rendezvous with Roman Reigns. That was nice.
Yeah. CC?
Yeah, so to go off what Cyrus was saying earlier, like the year that brought him in is the year that brought me back to all of this stuff. And in the years since, I've seen some good builds to some Survivor Series. So what the fuck gives, bro? Like, what's going on right now? Like, fam, I'm watching this and I'm like in my head, like last week. No. I was watching this past Friday's SmackDown and this past Monday's like Raw / like skipping through it and then the week before or whatever. And I'm like, isn't there like a pay-per-view? gonna be like sometime near. And this is not even me like clocking, like checking, because I know the date. I'm legit wondering. But I'm wondering because I don't fucking check dates because I'm just busy all the time or whatever. But the one thing I do check is this wrestling show every fucking week. And I still don't know when the fucking pay-per-view was going to be. Fam, what are we doing here? Are we trying to sell tickets, my nigga? Like, what's going on, bro? Like, fam, we got like Drew McIntyre going out and challenging random people every week. Cool. All right. That's fun. We get it. He's still going to be the big destroyer guy. So when it's time to put him on Team SmackDown, everybody understands why he's there. And then, there can be the little thing where he has a stare down with whoever he has a stare down with afterwards or during. Fine. Cool. We get it. Like all the other new people that you're trying to bring in, the new tag teams and all that shit. That's cool. Raw, I see what you're doing there or whatever. You realize that you only got a fucking handful of interesting shit and you're going to put that story out there as much as you can. I totally fucking get it or whatever. Do what you got to do or whatever. And also, aside, I thought it was really fucked up that Roman got on air and said that Raw sucked as a fucking fellow employee of the company. That shit was crazy.
Hey, you got a problem with it? CMS is on
Series. Yeah. You ain't no fellow employee. That's your first mistake. I'm not your fellow employee. I'm the head of the table. That's your first mistake.
Yeah.
Not the second.
But yeah, like I say all that to say, it's just like, bro, like from down to like the actual, like I get down to the actual event because that's what the core and like the whole foundation is of all the other shit in the first place. You're trying to sell tickets. So the fact that you're not even attended to that part is worse on top of the fact that you're not attended to the part that's on top. What the fuck is going on with these stories and shit or whatever? Why the fuck is Omos just coming out randomly and attacking people just because AJ's on vacation or whatever? Because he put in a lot of, like, we get it. Niggas go on vacation, bro. Like niggas is hip to like how this shit goes. You can say that and shit could be good or whatever. Like, it's just mad random shit happening right now or whatever. And they're like trying to build storylines in a way, but they're like half-assing it. And the problem is we're going into Survivor Series, which is just going to go right into TLC and
no, actually it's day one. Then
I'm sorry, not Royal Rumble. Yeah. That's the main one I'm thinking about. Going into fucking Royal Rumble. Like we're about to be going into like Royal Rumble, and like around that time, like we already know what's going to happen around that time. That's probably the time that they're going to have Brock and Roman go at it, because Roman Rumble marks about the date that Roman would need in order to beat Brock's thing. But like outside of Roman and like what's around Roman, like bruh, there's no fucking bill for like anybody's shit. And I'm trying to figure out, like, can I take a break and not watch this for 2 months and come back and expect something good? Because I know these people got a feud. I don't know or whatever. And this is the kind of thing where I brought this up in the beginning when I said like 2015 brought me back. Part of the reason why I left in the first place is because like I think Armand, you started watching as I was like leaving or whatever. Mm-hmm. So like I had a reference point for what I liked or whatever. And then I saw that shit going another way. And I said, hold on a second. I don't know if you're gonna be able to keep me. What I'm saying right now is for the last like 6 years, I've seen y'all build some shit up or whatever. Like I saw y'all make the mistakes and go through the whole social media era or whatever, trying to figure out exactly how to get this shit right or whatever. And I felt like, around 2017, y'all starting to hit y'all stride or whatever. People was going crazy or whatever. Then, 2020, y'all got around it, figured it the fuck out and started going crazy. All 2021 was looking good or whatever. But now that we ending this shit going into 2022 or whatever, it's very, very clear that you guys have like plans that you want to see for certain superstars or whatever. But the problem is we're watching this shit until you get there. Can you please remember that? That's all I'm asking. Man, like, bro, because what the fuck?
Yeah, no, I mean, bro, you make a great point. Like I as I told you before we started recording, I haven't watched SmackDown for the last like month, but there's a difference. Like months ago when I was missing SmackDown, I felt like I was missing something. So I would go and I would watch it the very next day.
Exactly.
These days, when I check the clips, I'm like, oh, I didn't really miss much. Like Justin talked about it on the A show. This whole Roman thing, like the fact everything's got to go through Roman. We love him. He's an incredible character. But at this point, it's like, it's a little much. It's a little tired. I'm a little exhausted from it. We're seeing Usos New Day again. Great pairing, but we don't really need that again. Yes, it's a different iteration of the Usos. It's a King Woods and all that, but it's just like I don't feel that desire to watch SmackDown. Like I think the SmackDown run where it was the show has ended. Like I've been watching Raw every week because the way my schedule works out, and Raw's been good. It's been actually been enjoyable. They took a bunch of new faces from SmackDown. They've got some of them doing interesting things. Like you said, there are some random storylines going, but yeah, like it's at a really weird place. And as Cyrus said, I agree. Like Survivor Series is my favorite pay-per-view. Last year, it was the pandemic, Thunderdome era, so we understand why they couldn't do the invasion angle or whatever. But this year, it's like, yo, people is vaxxed. Yeah. Y'all are traveling. Like there's audience there. Like y'all can do a lot more interesting stuff than you're doing right now. Like we kind of know Roman's messing with the New Day. That's going to lead to the Big E thing. We know they're fighting. Cool. That's really been the only interaction, like near cross-branded interactions that we've seen. And it's like last year we got the Roman Drew thing. We had Street Profits and New Day, Big E, messing around with the Street Profits, and that's it. It's like someone on Twitter said, and I would love your perspective on this. They feel like Money in the Bank is taking Survivor Series' place as one of the core 4 pay-per-views. And if we look at how much they're investing, like they're investing a lot in Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank is like now happening in arenas and stadiums, and just like the last Money in the Bank pay-per-view, that was when they brought the audience back, and that's when John Cena came and all that. So it's like, wow, to see my favorite pay-per-view, like one of the ones that they really prioritized, kind of just fall off like this. It kind of hurts to see, man. It's tough. It's tough.
About the Money in the Bank thing, I definitely think that. Well, I always felt like Money in the Bank was always bigger than Survivor Series because Money in the Bank, or like whoever wins the Money in the Bank briefcase can actually change a lot.
Yeah.
For the current landscape, Survivor Series, you win, so what?
Yep. That was always my thing.
Like with Survivor Series,
and it's like, barely bragging rights. You don't get a trophy. You don't get nothing. And I think they do a lot more. Like, yeah, I think you do a lot. They do a lot more when the brand loses than when the brand actually wins.
Yeah.
Like imagine if like they had the 5-on-5 or whatever, and then a certain amount of people or maybe just one person had to get cut. That's stakes, nigga.
Bro, like, I thought of it already.
Some kind of stakes.
That was my main point, was that the issue with Survivor Series, because I like Survivor Series too, is that there's no stakes to it. Royal Rumble has stakes. Money in the Bank has stakes. WrestleMania is supposedly like the Super Bowl. It has stakes. Mm-hmm. There's no stakes in Survivor Series. Once they start doing the invasion angle, when it was still like people's just personal beefs, obviously that has stake. Like Team Randy versus Team Triple H, that's its own thing. But I think what you need to do, and I was thinking about, because the hard thing is that Royal Rumble and Money in the Bank basically already have like the same incentive. Kind of, you get a title shot at some point in the future, and so Survivor Series has to be a bit different. But that's really the only thing you would really want to wrestle for as like the wrestlers. If there was some like brand incentive, like you can go two ways. I was thinking you could have a figurehead, just team captain, pick the teams, and there's an incentive for that person. So like the GM of SmackDown's like, if we win, we get WrestleMania's main event, so we need to win Survivor Series. Or you do something where it's like the individual winners of the team, which I think would be more interesting personally, become the number one contender or contenders, and they get a match the next show. So for example, if Drew and Randy are the sole survivors, they face Big E on Monday. If Finn, Jay, and Jimmy are all the sole survivors SmackDown, they face Roman on Friday. And I think that's a quick way where you don't have to write some long ass like storyline like you do with WrestleMania or Money in the Bank, where you're gonna have this thing, but you get a quick payoff, and it makes sense why anyone cares. I think what really happened is that the invasion stuff kind of peaked in 2018, like with the Becky Lynch moment. There's just no, they
it's not getting any better anymore.
So they're not gonna. So it's like, why even try? I feel like that's honestly where they're at. It's like, why even try? There's no way for us to be cooler than that. I think they're honestly going to start focusing more on the title versus title match, and the actual like elimination match will kind of be secondary. Because you see now, like all they talk about is Roman and Big E. All they talk about it. They don't really talk about like Team Raw. Like the team captains do the thing where they're like, I'm the leader, but like the actual like stuff like on Raw right now, I mean, breaking the fourth wall. It was just this big 6-man tag match with Big E and the Usos, Randy Orton, Riddle, and Seth Rollins. Like that's where the actual Survivor Series heat, I think, is going to go forward. And if they bring in NXT, they might do that again. But I think you'll start seeing the champion versus champion matches become a big thing. And personally, I like prefer the like personal 5-on-5 matches. Like my favorite Survivor Series is 2001. That was like the WWF versus Alliance. Outside of that, the whole Raw versus SmackDown thing, like you said, doesn't really mean anything to me. So I can see a point where they maybe start going like WWE versus NXT for the 5-on-5 matches and do it that way, like new guys versus the old guys. But I just feel like the whole height of Team Raw versus Team SmackDown, that just day is past. That day is gone.
Yeah.
And then just I do agree, like they do need an incentive, like to make us like really believe something is really going to change post Survivor Series. But initially, like before you brought up your point, I really did like Survivor Series because it was the All-Star game. It was just vibes.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
it was
who's the best wrestler?
It was sort of just like who's the better wrestler on which brand, or possibly like dream matches or anything of the sort. Like when I saw Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar, like fuck the story. Give it a match.
It's hard.
Shit hard.
But if people want to like look down on Survivor Series, that's fine. If you don't want to look at it as a big three, that's fine. But it's All-Star Weekend, baby. That's all it is, and that's all it's ever going to be to me. And they just can't really make us believe that it's going to be for brand loyalty when you had the draft like a month ago.
they just got it.
The whole Raw team is SmackDown, guys.
Like if the draft was like let's say in like May, because what the fuck happens in May? Nothing.
The draft should be after WrestleMania. I don't understand why it's not. Like that does never make any sense to me.
At least like it's like at least like 2 months after.
Yeah. You had the big payoff show. Now switch it up and let's get into new shit. Like that seems like a very logical track.
Yeah, so you just can't get me to really care about like the brand supremacy or like keeping up, like whatever. They could keep up with points if they want to, but like as far as an incentive for like these teams to win, shit, they barely elaborate that on the show.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You could do fake money, but it's like, okay, so like, who cares if Kevin Owens makes $100,000? Like, who gives a shit? Like, it's hard to think of stuff that they could write in that would make them actually want to win.
1/16 of his contract on a Survivor Series match. Who cares?
Who cares? Yeah, who cares? And you can't do anything like, because the wrestlers wouldn't even care if it's like, okay, Team SmackDown now gets the WrestleMania main event. It's like, well, why the fuck does like Finn Balor care about that? Like, I don't care. Like, if I'm not in it, who cares? Like, I want to win for me. And so I think you said like they should honestly lean into just, I mean, this is like a larger WWE construct, but if they had some type of like, not even like a power ranking system, but something that they could just easily be like, okay, it's November. Here's my 5 best guys. Like, these are the 5 best guys. And Raw could do the same thing. And it was very clearly like, no, this is just what it is. It's our 5 versus your 5. That would even be more interesting.
And then, if they want to like run a little story or whatever, you can have like, oh, here's my best 5 guys. And then they try to, Sonya Deville or Adam Pearce tries to approach them to be part of the Survivor Series team. And they say, no, I don't want that. And then that's your story or whatever for 3 weeks before they say, oh, I'm going to join. Or going into the pay-per-view, they're just like, is he going to show up? Yes or no?
Right.
And then,
I need you. What do you need? Well, I want a title shot if I'm on the team. Like some shit like that. Like some real negotiation.
Yeah. No, 100% agree. This felt very lazy this year. Just now, and like the qualifying matches can be annoying sometimes, but at least it's like, all right, like there's some kind of story to it. But
I was thinking about that too. I think why they didn't do. I mean, I don't know why the fuck they didn't do that, but I think part of it was honestly, I feel like because they just had King of the Ring, they didn't want to do that again. Like I feel like they relatively recently had a bunch of qualifying matches, so it's like, well, who are we going to run those matches back? We're going to switch the combination. I feel like it's always a weird thing because it's like, yes, you obviously do want stuff on social media, like social media is a massive part, so you do want to drive eyes to that, but it's like, is this what you're driving eyes to? It just felt like, it was like, oh wow, you're really just giving us the teams right now. We're just doing this. Okay, cool. Well, like it was just like announcing during the show or something at least. Like,
yeah, that also, like, I'm not really like bothered by them just announcing teams. It's kind of just like you announce teams like 3 weeks before the pay-per-view. Like, did you guys like it? Because what is it? Crown Jewel happened.
Yeah.
And then like 2 weeks after, then they were just like, oh shit, Survivor Series.
Go tweet.
Yeah. I forgot. Yeah. And then they just said, all right, line up. And then they just pick people. That's it.
And then just barely have the guys interact with one another. No cross-brand interactions. Like
they should do like the NBA doesn't have the team captains pick the teams on a different thing. Like have them like a little video. It can be Seth Rollins.
Fake draft.
Yeah, say Seth Rollins and Randy Orton in a room just talking through a big board would be hilarious for like 15 minutes thrown on YouTube. Like just hearing their different explanations for things or like them trying to make trades. Like you could really make that into like its own 10-minute segment. If you really want to do the social thing, you could make that like a thing on social that's kind of funny and like people can get to. But yeah, it was just random. It was just like there wasn't even no like preamble. It was just like if you were on Twitter at 4:00 on Sunday, you saw it. And if you were at church, you just did it. You just found out when you got out of church. Like it was just like, oh, like I just happened to be watching like football. I was probably looking up like a fantasy football injury. It just happened to be on Twitter and saw that like, oh, Seth Rollins is on Team Raw. Cool.
So for our free write, we basically got to most things. But man, WWE has been pushing this Dwayne The Rock Johnson content like it is crack in the 80s. Like we're seeing return montages. He's the first episode of the Ruthless Aggression doc. We're seeing
the throwback pictures.
Matt
Riddle with
like who y'all fooling, bro? Just say it. Just announce the match at this point.
So
Damian Priest Loki looks just like The Rock too. It was like uncanny.
It was great. And Rhea, Rhea had me feeling things. Anyways,
whoever put that fit on whoever made Riddle my Via, bruh, they need their ass beat
with the hair roll. I said, "No, you dare roll."
Y'all should have asked Montez to do it or some shit. Oh my god, bro. Had him looking crazy.
Honestly, but you know, it's pretty clear that he's likely going to be showing up at Barclays for Survivor Series. So the assumption is he's going to show up in some way and interact with Roman and set up a future WrestleMania matchup. Do you guys see any other potential way or moment where The Rock shows up and talks to anyone else, maybe puts over a newer talent on the roster or something? Like what? Go ahead.
He's gonna have like mad vignettes backstage, just like Raw or SmackDown, just walking like Priest is gonna be doing something.
I met The Rock. Yeah, they're gonna see all that type
like
of shit.
Priest is gonna be doing something and The Rock's gonna pass by and be like, "Yeah, I like what you're doing out there," and then like keep it pushing. Like there's gonna be a lot of that.
It's gonna be a thing with him and Becky with the manhandle slam, like the new move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if they want to, I don't see The Rock being on the show a lot, but if they do, maybe they can just like have something like. I don't like you. I guess you don't really give him a match before the Roman match. I think that'd be stupid and silly. But just have him interact with the roster just like a lot on the show. Like maybe like R-Truth is like trying to like talk to The Rock, but like The Rock is like, you know, he's always late or never on time or something. You know,
R-Truth calling him Stone Cold or some shit. Like just like, hey, Stone Cold.
Yeah, you know.
You know what would be fire? I was thinking about this when he was riding. What would be like really fire is if Roman, you know, beats Big E with whatever kind of chicanery he does, and he gets on the mic. He's like, "I know a lot of y'all been talking. It's supposed to be The Rock's day, but it's my show. So if you want to come back, you come back and see me properly." And like just like Roman like calls him
flight
out,
check.
Like, yeah, like because I think a lot of times you get the returns like John Cena returned, but I think it would be fire if Roman was like, "No, I know what y'all want," and like kind of like John Cena was like, "I want to face the Undertaker." He was like, "No, I know what y'all want. Y'all think The Rock is the one who can stop me, and he can't. Y'all think The Rock's gonna come back here and beat me, and he's not because he's washed. He's, you know, red. Whatever thing you want to do, he's too busy." But I think that would be a nice twist on that angle because a lot of times it's like the old guy comes back to show your place. But if Roman was like, "No, I don't care. Like I'm Roman Reigns, and I know what y'all are saying. I know this is The Rock Survivor Series. That don't mean nothing to me. I'll knock over these little Rock statues. I'll tear down the little posters. Like I'm the big dog." And kind of have that aspect to it, where eventually The Rock has to come. Because I think part of it too is like you said, you don't want to have The Rock to have to wrestle. You almost want him to be like to build to the point where it's like, no, we need The Rock to stop Roman. Like we need him. Not The Rock doesn't need us, but we need him. I think that would be fire.
Do y'all think The Rock stops Roman?
At this point, he has to.
Man,
not in my mind's eye.
It makes sense.
Come on, Vince. Make the call, Vince.
It makes sense, but we've just had so many situations. We thought John Cena was going to be the guy, and that he got cooked We thought Brock was going to be the guy, and Roman, escaped. He didn't beat him decisively. He escaped. So every time I put faith in the guy who it seems like it makes sense for Roman to lose to, it don't happen. So I don't know, man. Like I think the only way it happens is if he comes out at Survivor Series after Roman beats Big E, and then Roman like beats Rock's ass, and then Rock goes away for like a couple months, and then comes back for Mania. Then it's like, okay, there's that redemption story. But even then, man,
if the ass whooping keep you out for 4 months,
first off, Black Adam kept him out for 4 months. He just happened to get back in town around WrestleMania season. That's what that was.
Right.
But I just think also, like, if he, hypothetically speaking, he has this WrestleMania moment with The Rock, beats The Rock. One, are you gonna have The Rock do the John Cena thing again because he's already done that? And two, then who are we having to beat him? Like, is Shawn Michaels gonna have to call God again? Are we gonna have to go that angle? Have Jesus Christ defeat Roman Reigns? Because at certain points, like Becky Lynch cannot be the Universal Champion and the Raw Women's Champion. I know that's what Vince really wants to happen, but she can't be both. So like, you have to have someone beat Roman. Someone else has to do it.
Well, which brand is Drew McIntyre on?
SmackDown
now.
Hey man, it'd be kind of crazy.
Get the fuck out of here, bro.
It would probably go crazy.
Give me main event Jimmy Uso again before you give me fucking Drew McIntyre.
This nigga, you don't mean that.
That was nasty. That was nasty.
You know, I've never seen it for Drew. Never seen it for.
I was just gonna say part of the reason why I hate SmackDown. Oh no, I was gonna say the part of the reason why I hate SmackDown is because they got Drew in these squash matches, but at the same time, I know why they got Drew in the squash matches because they trying to remind everybody out that motherfucker that he'd beat anybody ass. And they trying to keep him as that, keep him on that level. So when it's time to pull the Roman trigger, yeah, it's time. So like, I honestly can't see anything for like next year. Like honestly, I think the way Cyrus described it is exactly how it's gonna happen. I don't give a fuck about next year or the year after, or maybe even the year after that, but possibly the year after that, and potentially and more than likely the year after that. I'm talking like probably like 4 years from now. Give me motherfucking Dwayne, stay healthy for at least 5 more years. Stay healthy in ring shape, please, for 5 more years. I need Tez versus The Rock. I need it. I like that. I need it.
That's the match.
The Rock interaction with the Street Profits.
That is the match. That is not a match. That is the match. That is the WrestleMania moment. Oh my god!
Not even that. Just have the Street Profits tag with The Rock. I think that'd be good enough for me.
Shit, that I like that too. Oh my god, Street Profits and The Rock versus the
Bloodline
Usos.
Oh yeah,
millions and millions of the Street Profit and The Rock's fans.
Those promos
are going bananas, dog.
This might be unpopular. I think the only thing, like, I feel like Finn is not done, and I know people feel like Finn is done after the way he lost at Extreme Rules. I have a bold prediction, 2 bold predictions. He could potentially win the upcoming Rumble, 2022 Royal Rumble. If not that, he wins Money in the Bank after WrestleMania 38 coming up, wins Money in the Bank after WrestleMania 38, cashes in on Roman somehow.
Valor in the Bank?
Those are my two predictions. I don't know. I it's not over Finn. I just don't believe it's over Finn. So those are 2 things that I can see. I'm saying them on the show now. I've been holding them in for a while. I want to get here and say it because we predicted a lot of things. We predicted Drew Goldberg. We predicted Big E as WWE champion. We predicted a lot of things on this show. So let's hope for Finn to rise up and do his thing. But we are here for the main event with Rock discussion in mind. We want to take it back several years to the Rock's debut. So Cece, will you lead us to the promised land for our rewrite?
We in the 90s, y'all know what that means. It's old man CC time, niggas. Welcome to Old Man CC time with CC. Hello, I'm CC. We are gonna go ahead and get into the story of a young man named Dwayne Douglas Johnson. I apologize for messing up your name, my good sir. But no, I mean, The Rock is probably, a lot of specifically niggas and not just black people, but niggas' favorite wrestler.
Top one.
For a lot of reasons, because he talked like a pale and then wrestle like a motherfucker out this bitch. So like, he cold as hell. But yeah, no, my guy is from one of the greatest wrestling families in the world. I'm not gonna bother to go ahead and try to pronounce it every time I do. I fuck it up. But yeah, no, he went to U of Miami, played football, ended up winning a championship when he was out there or whatever. After that, he wanted to get started in wrestling. Pat Patterson got him to try out a little bit or whatever. He signed on, did a couple matches with the WWF, but he went to Jerry Lawler's actually promotion for a bit, where and I would love for him to pick up this name if he had to actually wrestle against Roman Reigns, where he wrestled as Flex Cavana. Imagine
fire name.
The Rock coming back as Flex Cavana, nigga. That would be such a fucking callback. I think, man.
Sometimes you just get it right on the first try. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes it was just right the first time. You didn't have to do it again. Flex Cavana was
Come on, bruh. So, but yeah, no, he goes there, and then Vince is like, all right, I've seen enough. I want to join this kid. I have this kid join or whatever. So he comes on, he wins his first match, beats Goldust and Crush, RIP Crush. And then from there, he goes on to kind of like not have that great success as a face. I don't know what it is about that family, but having niggas start out as a face early in their careers, the crowd do not like that shit. They was shouting shit like "Die Rocky Die" at this nigga, bro.
It's the inherent racism of white people, but I they just don't like seeing brown baby faces. They don't like it. But I mean, we can talk about
that's
that.
Probably
different. Keep that for the culture pod. Keep that for the culture podcast.
But yeah, he goes on to like keep going for a little bit. Excuse me, and then Vince sees something in him early or whatever. He gets the Intercontinental Championship, has a run with that or whatever. He actually defends it against the Sultan, and I'll bring that back up later when I get into my rewrite. And then after that, kind of that's when it gets a little bad for him, whatever. So he actually gets injured in a match with Mankind, comes back or whatever, joins the Nation of Domination, is a heel, and the rest of the story as we know it. But today we wanted to focus on for our rewrite is what does it look like when Rocky debuts, and then he goes on, and from that period from when he starts out up until that heel run. What does that look like if we do that reimagine? And since I'm hosting, I'm gonna go ahead and start calling on people first. So I'm just gonna start with Galaxy Brain out the way. Channing, what you got, man?
Kind of like you mentioned, I think for a lot of kids, I'm sure in general, boys and girls, but I think a lot of black and brown kids, I think The Rock just means a lot. Not only is he like this very successful, very talented wrestler, but for my knowledge, outside of Zach from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, he is one of the first like brown people who was on TV on a regular, consistent basis, who was like so confident. Like there was even before, like obviously I was born in 1993, so I was a child when he was a babyface. I wasn't like watching wrestling until he was at that point pretty much a heel. But just watching someone who was just like, no, I don't give a fuck what y'all think. Like I am The Rock. Like I am me. I'm the people's champion. When I show up, shit happens, bro. Things get done, bro. When that interest music hits, people go up. Like, I think that was just so important. And so I think that is honestly what I actually listen to, if you like podcasts, another podcast. There's a lot of podcasts about The Rock and his upcoming. There's one on Sports Wars about him and Stone Cold and kind of paralleling to, I thought was really dope. But one of the things they really talk about is his like confidence. That is like The Rock's really what took him to that next level is when he turned heel and was able to be like, I don't care what y'all think of me. I am who I am. And I think that's what really builds his character. And I think that's where they should have taken him as a babyface. So I think to start him out, one thing Vince hasn't really done, now I think about it, since like Drew McIntyre, but it was a thing for a while with like MVP where he would just have his guys who they would debut and he'd be like, this is a 5-star. Even The Rock, he was a blue chipper. I think he should have had The Rock basically. So in the Survivor Series match, it is The Rock on Mark Merrill's team with Jake the Snake Roberts and the Stalker. And he said Crush, Goldust, Jerry Lawler, and Triple H. I think you basically have Triple H's team eliminate everyone but The Rock. This is The Rock's first match. They go along the lines of basically, hey, who is this new guy? He don't deserve to be in the ring with us. Like, get him out of here. Don't tag in. Like, who is this guy? So they didn't just 1-on-4, The Rock versus them 4. And then you have The Rock wash all of them. Like, not squash them, but you have The Rock get pinned, roll up, sneaky pins, whatever it is. You have The Rock win 4 times. And so basically you are establishing The Rock as like not this powerhouse, but like a guy who wins. He is truly this third generation star that like to mention all time. Secondly, one thing I was reading on the Wikipedia page and just in some other articles is that Bret Hart was like his mentor. Like, I don't know how formal that capacity was. I couldn't tell that, but it seemed very clear that Bret Hart was like definitely trying to show him the ropes. That was one of his Intercontinental title matches was against Bret, who Bret didn't want to take the title off him. I think so. At that Survivor Series, Bret actually defeats Stone Cold to become the number 1 contender. I think that next day, well, not next day, but that next Raw, you have Vince, or you can have Mark Merrow do it, I guess, if you really want to. But him come out and be like, oh, The Rock should be the number 1 contender, and Bret Hart don't deserve it. And The Rock should face Bret right now. And then have The Rock go up against Bret. Because I think also what you want to do, and this sounds kind of twisted, but you really want to accelerate that hate. Because I think what happens is the quicker you get to that hate is the quicker you can get to the love. It's kind of like with Roman, where it's like you can try and push Roman all you want, but it wasn't until people were absolutely sick of him, could not deal with him, and he finally turned, the people were, that release came, and now Roman's to the moon. And I think that's what you do, is you really build The Rock up as this like hateable teacher's pet favorite. And he obviously not going to beat Bret, and that's his second match ever, but you kind of establish it as like, oh, he is their guy. And then you have the natural progression to the Nation, him joining the Nation, becoming The Rock, dropping the Mafia, and all that kind of stuff. But I think what you do is that you accelerate, like I said, the evil. You really get him, you build that white hate as quickly as possible by taking on their Canadian king, Bret Hart. And you really make them think that like, oh, Vince is really about to do this. Vince is really about to put this guy over. That way, when it does happen against Mankind, you've seen the foreshadowing. You've seen the kind of thing of like, oh, this was always in there. The Rock was always kind of susceptible to like, I'm a good guy up until it benefits me. And then it's like, fuck y'all, I don't care. And I think you kind of plant that story early too. Because one thing I do feel like is I love that he beat Mankind, because I'm not a Mick Foley guy, hand up. But it always felt like, okay, the corporation's cool. I'm glad that happened, but like it felt like this really just kind of smacked me. I was gobsmacked when that first happened. I was like, what the fuck? And so I think you build up to that a little bit better too, where like it kind of makes sense in Rock's characteristic that he would be with Vince, instead of just being like, oh no, Vince just loves this guy, don't you know? Him and Shane are like Rock groupies. And it's like, I didn't really know that, but okay. But yeah, so that's what I think you do. I think you basically make Rock like on some undefeated Bill Goldberg shit. Just have him beating people, winning matches he shouldn't win. I mean, also, this is a side note, there's a lot of Ken Shamrock in 1996 WWE. Ken Shamrock had a lot of matches. Like, I went down the rabbit hole because I was like, it was like The Rock defeats Ken Shamrock, retains against Ken Shamrock for the kind of time. I was like, God damn, how many matches Ken Shamrock had? He had a lot more matches than I remember. Like, I don't remember this much Ken Shamrock growing up, but he was very popular apparently.
Bro, so 96 through 98 / 99 Ken Shamrock, that nigga had a job.
Bro, a working wrestler, dog. I was like, bro, he was just wrestling everybody. Yeah, so I think you help with the Triple H too, because Triple H is going into his DX era. So he's so anti-establishment. You have The Rock as this kind of almost quasi-establishment. I think you build that parallel strong too. But yeah, that's all I got. The Rock is perfect. He can do no wrong because there wasn't too much to change. But
I like it.
Besides those raps.
I don't acknowledge.
Hey, that
was Dwayne. That's
yo.
I
was very much hoping we could get through this whole shit without mentioning that mana.
So, in case you're wondering,
I just thought we could.
The rapping, the show Ballers, and then when he goes at the end of Why Did I Get Married Too? Those are all Dwayne Johnson. That's not The Rock. That's someone different. That's a different character who I don't really know why he was with Janet Jackson at the end of that movie. I really don't understand what was going on, but that's Dwayne. That's a working actor. That's a guy who's in Hollywood. That's the Scorpion King you're talking about. I'm talking about The Rock. Gotcha. I'm talking about Walk Tall. Different guy.
Gotcha.
Oh, come on. All right. Cyrus, what you got?
All right. So I love everything that you said. It definitely made a lot more sense. And then kind of just like skipping the whole, I guess I'll call them like road bumps with him being a babyface, and just kind of just like, let's get the hatred going. Like, let's just make him a monster heel. But honestly, I think in the grand scheme of things of like his whole career, like nobody really remembers Rocky Maivia. I think we only remember it because Raw likes to play video packages.
That entrance of him doing that half spin. I see it every year. Just him like this.
And trying to pay tribute to his father. I understand, but it is what it is. I also like Bret Hart also taking the arrows for him. I definitely think that would have been a great thing to do for his debut. I'm not gonna act like I've watched this whole thing and like seen the lead up to The Rock's debut, but I definitely think that you can't really enjoy the highs without going through the lows. So Rocky Maivia kind of has to stay. That's just how kind of how that all worked out. I like the idea with the Survivor Series thing. They definitely should have built up more of the. What do you mean, bro? Like, why do you want us to work with him? Like people should have came up to Vince being just like, "You sure you want to put this boy on the team? You sure, bro?" I think like a lot of people having doubts, and then kind of like The Rock just like lapping everybody just due to favoritism. Definitely would have got us there a lot quicker with like the corporation stuff and like that, but it all worked out. So I think it's all good and fun.
You know what's really crazy too is like you look. Obviously, I didn't watch everything before this, but I watched some like Nation of Domination stuff. It's like
perfect.
It's like something they would just never do that today. Even with the Hurt business, like obviously there was so many parallels, and I'm gonna get to that. But just like it's so like almost funny how like some stuff is so racist that they like didn't even realize it was like quasi progressive. It was like, wow, like you really put these 4 black people on this show. Like, even though they're saying these don't really always make sense. It doesn't really make their motivations don't always make sense. They're just like pro-black aggressively, but it's just like, wow, like they're just really just pro, like wearing dashikis and kente cloth. Like, it's like, wow, like you really did that. Let's look at you.
I think the Nation of Domination, for whatever, I don't know Vince, but I definitely think that was just like a help him out kind of process. Like like I said, like with NXT
Farouk,
2.0.
Mark Henry, D'Lo, you got a lot of like vets.
Mark Henry was one of his trainers, so it was definitely
like kind of how like NXT 2.0 has like this sort of like mentee mentor program. Like having Farouk at that period of time, dog, he was vetted in the like. He was already a fantastic talker. Like
first champion, Ron Simmons. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, like
he also could throw the shit out of niggas. I've been watching.
I'm saying
matches. That motherfucker.
Yeah. I stand Ron Simmons. I think he's like fantastic wrestler, goated on the mic and everything, and he knows how to like with the Nation. Well, like with his promos outside of the Nation, just around that time, he always had the passion was always there. You always believe what he said. So The Rock kind of like really like taking that or just like, learning from him of all people definitely worked out in his favor. So shout out to Ron Simmons, man.
Shout out to Ron Simmons.
Obligatory.
Shout out to Karma too, man. Shout out to the whole nation, man. Shout out to all those guys, man.
The whole nation or the whole nation? Because I would like to shout out.
I mean,
both.
D'Lo brought on the whole train as well. Shout out to the whole train. Shout out to the Godfather. Shout out to Right to Censor. Shout out to all of them. It's just
let's go.
The way gimmicks would really pivot is so wild. Like
I love a wrestler that can have a good like 6-7 gimmicks in their bag by the end of their career. I'm like, look at you. Yeah. Come on. Let's go.
Love
work it.
The two. Sorry, side note. I love like the little twist things like. This is Dave Bautista's first appearance, like when he was just like holding that like money box with like a chain around his neck. Like it's just so funny.
This thing was a deacon, bro.
Yeah, deacon with Devon. Oh yeah,
right.
It's just Rocky Maivia. It's just interesting how like at the end of the day, this is just like some guys and hopefully some women, but probably just some guys sitting in a room being like, "What if we put him in this?" And then just like going for it. Like when people get so worked up about it, it's like, guys, there's a guy who's dressed up like a demon. It's not real. This is not that serious. You guys are like cussing each other out on the internet over
just a random Irish man that says
a random Irish man.
Sometimes I just be feeling like Shinakuma, bruh, and then he hits himself and then goes crazy. Hey man. You know, sometimes like I lose and then I get really mad and then I win. Like, is that not like some of the most anime
and I gotta win?
Right.
Like,
I tell people all the time, wrestling is, people think of it as sports, but it's much closer to comics, and like it's much closer to the triumph of good over evil or evil over good. It's a story, it's a play. It's not basketball. Like it is the good guys versus the bad guys, and sometimes the good guys win, sometimes the bad guys win. But like that's what it is. It's not like the Cavs.
I never looked at wrestling as like a legitimate sport or try to like. You know, like, oh, this is like, you know, sports parallel, because like that just doesn't work out. There's not a lot of sports comparisons I can make to wrestling storylines. So it's just like, you know, it's storytelling. That's all it is.
Entertainment.
Speaking of sports and basketball, I'm gonna go ahead and pass it to Armand here so he can get his off and see what you got.
Mine's gonna be quick. Much like Cyrus, I have not watched all of it. I am familiar with the debut and with the progression of his career, and so I think something that would have been interesting after Survivor Series is, you know, he's this impressive babyface. He's the sole survivor. He eliminates 2 guys to win it. So there are all these veterans coming to him. We know Bret Hart is mentoring him behind the scenes. I think you make it something that is a storyline. Like Bret Hart comes up to him backstage. It's like, yo, man, that was like a really like impressive performance. You know, like we got this Hart family thing here. You come from a legendary family as well. Like, and Rock's like, yeah, you know, I've got a lot of respect for these lineages, for these people who have done great things. And so Rock kind of starts hanging out with the Hart family, you know, accompanying them to their matches, tagging with Owen, tagging with Bret, you know, doing different things with them. But he's like this gullible baby face. So they're kind of using him, using his youth, using his energy to help them out. And like he doesn't realize, he's like, yo, I'm hanging out with Bret Hart, like the excellence of execution, the best there is, best there was. Like, this is dope for me. Like, I just got here and I'm already hanging out with one of the best here. And so that they continue to use him to keep their titles and they're prospering. And then the Nation of Domination realizes and they start talking to Rock. They get in his ear. They're like, yo, you know, like, you know, you're definitely doing your thing. You know, you're hanging out with these champions, but they're using you. Like, they're also stifling your career. Like, you're not getting any title shots. You're not facing any champions. You're just helping them, you know, keep their titles. And you could even make it a racial angle where it's like, yo, brother, like I'm trying to look out for you, my man's like
hey, stop, can I hold you? No, real shit. I was like, is Armand just giving like how we talk to like sophomores at Cornell, like black sophomores? Like, hey, you go white people, but you need to come home.
Like, don't join Chi-Fi.
Yeah,
don't join
Phi-Phi. I was like, I've had like, this parallels what I've done. I see where this is going. They're using you. They're just using you, Rob. Yeah. Come home.
You are nothing more than the person they can put on their diversity pamphlet when they send emails to alumni. They don't love you like that.
The Hart family don't love you like the Nation, my brother. Come home.
The girls don't dance back and forth over here. I promise.
Yeah, bro. You could come get some chicken, some Kool-Aid, some waistlines that actually know what they're doing. So,
come home, Dwayne.
So Dwayne. Yeah. So I'm thinking you have Farouk in his here, you have D'Lo, they're talking to him backstage, and then, you know, The Rock is still gullible, bright-eyed, young, like, oh, nah, man, like, they really like me, blah, blah. And then he starts to notice things, like, his matches, like, only one of them comes out, and, like, he loses a match, and, like, one of them could have helped him. He's like, yo, what's going on? They're like, oh, sorry, man, like, you know, just some bullshit, and, like, it slowly starts to build up. And then, ideally, in my story, he doesn't get injured. He screws over Bret in a match against Farouk or D'Lo, and then after the match, they just jump the Hart family, and then he's like, and then he changes his name, he puts the fist up, and he's like, you know, I've come over to the right side now. I'm no longer brainwashed. The coon chip is no longer activated, and then Nation of Domination starts to do their thing. So yeah, I'm thinking a positive racial angle here. But
it's funny too, because somewhere in the back, Shawn Michaels just like, yep, fuck that nigga Bret, bro.
Exactly.
Fuck that nigga, yeah. You show him rock.
Yeah. So
if that would have happened that way, then Shawn Michaels would have been the first nigga on Twitter just so he could say, I didn't screw Bret. The Rock screwed.
Shawn Michaels would have bought a kufi himself. Been like, yo, can I join the Nation? Like, what's up?
He said, my brothers.
I found Jesus. Jesus is black.
Hey, man.
All right. I'm glad I went last. I realized I got the big joker here. So I'm gonna go ahead and carry his story from when he he first joins or whatever. He goes through it. He's the baby face or whatever. He gets the IC title, whatever. He defends it a few times or whatever. And then one thing that I forgot to mention is that one of the people he defended it against, I mentioned earlier that he defended against the Sultan. He actually defended it against the Sultan at WrestleMania. Now, for you young people out there listening who don't know who the Sultan is also someone you may know as Rikishi.
Oh yeah.
So even before we had cars in the mix, your man was putting on for the Rock and making sure that he could get that lift.
Another working wrestler, Rikishi. Another working wrestler.
Keeps a motherfucking job. But so keep that in the back of your mind or whatever. So a little bit around that or whatever is like, when he actually starts to get like rejected a little bit, he actually beats Brett by DQ after that or whatever. Even though he's getting mentored by him. And quick side note or whatever, because I always like to have I have like a running hashtag on my head or whatever. It's just like it's hashtag damn Bret Hart really is cool with black people. That's my hashtag that I keep in my head every time I see Bret do some shit or whatever. But apparently when Bret was mentoring or whatever, he would not take the title from him. Like he told Vince, he's like, I'm not taking the title from that nigga. I'm like, come on, Bret, still a real nigga. You know what I mean? Always been.
You saw it, bro. You saw it.
Greatest there, man, ever was, ever will be. But anyway, so he goes on or whatever, and he loses the IC title to Owen Hart or whatever on Raw, and then after that he has a match against Mankind and he loses or whatever. And then this is the time where he comes back in August where he goes to Nation Domination. I have a little bit of a different scenario. I say that The Rock comes back. He just does a promo and he's like, you guys were saying things like die, Rocky, Rocky sucks or whatever. And, blah, 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 blah. All these things that you were saying about this bright-eyed, blah, blah guy or whatever out there. And he's painting a picture of himself, setting up how he's going to talk about himself in the third person. Boom, here we go or whatever. And he's like, you said all these things about The Rock, the first time he says it, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Little do you know or whatever, you're disrespecting royalty or whatever. And, he kind of goes on talking about that, and he talks about himself highly or whatever, and how he's kind of like sees himself as like looking over like this vast thing or whatever. And he's kind of like talking kind of like a king would or whatever, right? And then the promo shot is just on him or whatever. And then after that or whatever, he was like, I was away for a little while. So a lot of things around here, weren't really taken care of. And mind you, at this time, he's like mid card, like kind of like bottom at the top tier or whatever. But this is going to be his push into that top tier. He says, yeah, like, while I was away, things were getting a little out of hand or whatever. But I think it's time we take back control. I think it's time that the greatest family in wrestling takes control of the WWF. Then the shot pans out and it's motherfucking Rikishi right to the right of the Rock. And the Rock starts the fucking and the Rock starts the original fucking bloodline in motherfucking 97, nigga. So like, you grab him,
that's fire, bruh.
You grab him, and the same way you had Shawn Michaels with what's the name as the Muscle
Diesel.
Or whatever.
Diesel.
With Diesel as the Muscle. Now you got The Rock or whatever, with Rikishi or whatever, and these niggas is whooping ass or whatever. They whooping Triple H ass, fucking with DX and shit like that. And it's great because you got them, and they could go for like a little bit or whatever. And then like they can even like pull in like a couple people. They still D'Lo Brown from like from what's it called from the Nation or whatever. And then they get people like a little bit over time or whatever, but then like The Rock kind of like just breaks it down to like their original members and stuff like that, or whatever. But you can get that because one thing I've never seen is the reason why I brought all this up or whatever is because I've never seen Rock like run a fucking stable by himself. Like for real. He kind of was like taking over the Nation of Domination, which is why like they kind of split. And then like Farouk technically got kicked out. And then he was like leading it from there. But the whole time he was leading it, he was just doing like the character where like, you know, it's like the mean girl or whatever. She's like a completely mean to her friends or not actually like leading it. I want to see this nigga like lead it like Roman's like leading it. Like I want this like it's he's the mastermind. He putting this shit together or whatever. They really on his side. They really fuck with him or whatever. Like I was just like, yo, imagine that. So imagine like the same shit talking Rock, except for he got a gang of niggas behind him. So he talking even more shit. I was like, oh, this should be crazy. So yeah. And then here's where that shit all gets lovely or whatever. He still goes on to do what he does or whatever. He breaks that up, goes with the corporation because reals like the corporation got a little bit more going on for him than the bloodline or whatever. Fast forward or whatever, Roman's still running this play. And this is the reason why Rock is coming back, because Rock needs to take control of the fucking bloodline again one more time. That's super hard. It's like a fucking Terminator movie, nigga. We got Arnold Schwarzenegger come back 30 years later. Y'all niggas ain't never seen it. Come on, I'm talking about a 30-year play. I ain't even see it coming.
You know what? The only thing I disagree with you on that is I think we have seen The Rock lead a faction before. I think that faction was called the WWF because all y'all niggas was his sons. So y'all all this is my faction. The whole roster is my faction.
Yeah, SmackDown
is his show. That's my faction.
To the point where when people would debut, they would have them debut by having The Rock in the ring and then have them come out and have The Rock ask, who is this?
It's my show. Y'all in my faction right now. This Titan draw. This is my arena. But no, that is.
But yeah, that's what we got for the rewrite, y'all boys.
Led a faction. I wonder why that is. I wonder if it's like a him thing or if it's just a timing and never worked out. Like couldn't find a partner.
To be perfectly honest,
that's so weird.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, bro. I listen to a lot of like The Rock interviews and watch this nigga talk a lot or whatever. This nigga know how fire he is. Like he's very aware. So I think because of that, he was just like, yo, let me not get anybody weight. Let me just solo this shit or whatever. Because like if I'm in a group, bro, if I'm in a group, who going, they not gonna look at y'all niggas.
Yeah, think about like he had to partner with Mankind, who was like one of the most like particular, like you could not pick two more different superstars. Like it had to be someone so far away from him that like it was no like thing of like, oh, you're kind of like
such an oddity himself that like he had like that's what it was. It was like, you know, you get two bands who already did 30 years of classics by themselves, and then you send them together on an arena tour. Like that's what that was like or whatever. You can't have him with like just with. Ain't nobody on this nigga level, bro. He can't be with somebody. The fuck?
Yeah, I'm looking at this roster. I don't even know who you would have. Like,
bro.
There's no besides like the Nation guys, but like again, that's like a group of people. Like you can't have him partner with Yokozuna. I mean, Yokozuna would be in the bloodline, but Vader, him and Vader, no. Like what?
Yeah,
him and the 1, 2, 3 kid, no.
I just imagine like Yokozuna.
Honestly, you know who would have
be
to
in the bloodline with them?
Ooh. It'd have to be like Triple H. It'd have to be like him, like also like 2-man power trip. Would have had to be like, oh, we are partners because we're the two best people here. That's what
I could see them doing a two. Like, did you see? There's a good clip from I think it's like 2011. One of those times when The Rock came back and like it's The Rock, Stephanie, and Triple H in the room, and The Rock and like Triple H are like, to go at it. Yeah. I looked at that and I was like, damn, did I get enough of that when I was a kid? Like, I need to go back and watch. I was like, how many times did they?
One more. I could always go one more.
That I'm pretty sure that was supposed to be building to a WrestleMania match at some point too. It just never happened. But
real talk, going back to our Roman point, if Triple H wouldn't have gotten hurt, I wouldn't be surprised if he was the WrestleMania match for real. If he would have booked himself for that. Hunter loves to book himself into a WrestleMania match. And since like The Rock seems like he's kind of busy, I feel like that was probably the plan, and then that got messed up. So they're probably trying to figure out now. They're probably gonna use Survivor Series to like let it like give them a week or so to like have to figure it out. But like at certain points, like we're almost here.
What if
gotta figure it out, man?
What if like I'm going super crazy now because this has been on my spirit for a minute or whatever. One question been on my spirit, and it's just like, is Stone Cold good enough to give me like 5 minutes of like disqualification, just running in, whooping ass with a chair or whatever, kicking somebody, stuttering somebody, and then like, you know, covering the ref over that person or whatever. Like just that. I don't need him to do the whole match. I just needed something, just a little. Can I just?
I could see him. I could see Stone Cold like interrupting a match, not having a match, but
exactly. That's what I mean.
He could probably handle. He could probably handle if you interrupt. But it's like, who would he interrupt the match for? Like,
that's the thing.
That's facts.
What if he comes out and he stunners both of them? Whoever it is.
Have Roman on the Broken Skull sessions. That'd be funny.
But yeah,